Page 8, Etude in C major. 2/4 time, lots of eighth notes, 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. I'm going to start with the right hand. You're starting with third finger here, put you in this position. And there's just quarter notes. Hopefully you get these okay. And then the eighth notes, 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2. Then second line, third measure, you have to, after the half note, you just lift up and come down. Into this position, you're actually in this position. Not here, but here. Where your thumb is covering actually 2 notes, whatever. So it's 4. And we're doing this because a little bit later we got an E and an F, and we're going to have to spread out a little bit. If we start here, we don't have to spread out as much. If we start here, we got to move more. We don't want to move any more than we have to. So we're starting with 4 instead of fifth finger. Now watch out here on the fourth measure, second line. Third finger is going to do the C and the D both, because we got to spread out some more because we got an F coming. So that measure is here and then here. And they're saying fifth finger again, that's okay. And then 4. There's other fingerings, but that's fine. We can do with that. Then the next line, third finger, we're back to what we were sort of doing at the beginning. Now, this is the third line down, last 2 measures. Watch out, because the thumb needs to, they want the thumb to move again. Because you're in this position, well, they want here, thumb here. That's why you can reach the G. There's other ways of doing it. We can use their method, that's fine. And then you finish it off in this position. Left hand down here, sort of. You're going to move around a little in the left hand too, but you're starting here. Eighth notes, 1 and 2. Play all of these connected. When you're first learning a piece of music, I recommend you play the whole thing as connected as you can. We'll put in all these slurs and stuff later. We got to get the fingering down. If you play it all connected first, it helps you with your fingering to make sure your fingering is working okay. There's exceptions to things. Don't worry about them. Just this is good enough here. So you got to reach out a little bit. That's fine. You can use third finger or fourth finger, whichever one on the D. Either way works. Now, second line, you're starting out here. Then they want the thumb on the F. That's because we got a B coming up. We're using all these. Then reach up with the thumb, and you're coming back up here. So third line down, second measure. The third finger is going to do both of these notes. The second finger, see, we keep moving around a little bit. Now, technique-wise, again, I use the weight, and I'm just transferring weight from finger to finger, and I'm simply lowering whichever finger I want. And that's the finger that gets the weight. Not a lot of weight. It's a controlled weight. It's not total. I'm controlling how much weight I'm putting on it, but the weight is actually pushing the note down, not the finger so much. Put the hands together here. So this is the hard part here. Both hands just moved. On the second measure of the second line, you're here. And then to go on, both hands are going to move. You're going to scrunch up in the left, and the right hand comes down. Just lift up and move. On the right hand, not the left. And then you're finishing the second line here, and then in the third line, they want here. As far as I'm concerned, the first note in the third line in the right hand, you can play that with fourth finger, because this is where you are. And if you play that with fourth finger, then you can scrunch up and get your thumb on the B more easily. Now you can lift up and move after the second line. You can lift up and move and get third finger on it. But again, I like to play everything legato at first. So if you want, just in the first note in the third line, right hand, play it with fourth finger, and then go back to what they're doing. So it's here. So they're using different fingers at different times. That's kind of neat. And once you have that, and you get rid of all of your hesitations, because you're probably hesitating here and there and whatever, so go back and work on those spots, because the beat needs to be steady. How fast you go is not important right now, but the beat needs to be steady. And once you can get your fingers working more or less okay, add these slurs in. Both hands get slurs here. So we're going to lift up between the slurs. At the beginning, this is all connected. And then in the half note there, in the first line, you see that measure where the half note is? Both hands are going to lift up before going on. So it's just a slight, you're cutting the last note in the third measure or fourth measure short, just a hair. So you got time to, it's like taking a breath, and you go on. But the beat is not affected, the beat is steady. And you do that throughout this whole thing. It looks like the slurs in the hands all agree, you lift up at the same time, except for the third line down. Let's look at this line. This is the tricky part, where the first four measures, it's all one slur. Right there. This is the fourth measure. In the right hand, you're going to play the quarter note and then lift up before you go on. So that's a pickup. Da-da-da. In the left hand, it's just one note and then you go on. It's got a 3-beat pickup. And go to here. And that's different because it's in your here. It's the fourth measure of the third line. You're here. And then hold the right hand down. You lift up the left. Play that. And then after you play that, you lift up the right hand. So that's a little bit different. And it's important that you get this, because as music gets more difficult, you're going to get this even more. So you have to be able to have this independence of the hands of what they're doing. So yeah, we want to hear those individual phrases for each of those hands. Then once you can do that, we add the dynamics. Soft P at the beginning. This is for, it's kind of tricky. It's supposedly it's for the melody, but in this particular etude, I can't really tell what's melody and what's not, because it's almost like both hands are melody. Or sometimes the left hand is melody and sometimes it isn't. You'll have to experiment. If you decide one part is melody and the other isn't, bring out the melody. So that P stands for the melody. For instance, if I say the right hand is melody, what's soft? Decide what that is, and then make the left hand under that. Make it really soft. So we hear the right hand. And by the way, that slur at the end of the first line is continuing. It's not the end of it, it keeps going. If the slur at the end of the first line ended there, then the curved line would end at the note. But when it carries past the note like that, it continues on to the next line. So it's just all one slur there. So maybe the right hand is all melody here. And then in the second line, it's moderately soft, which is a little bit less soft or a little bit louder. Not much. It's still on the soft side. That would be for the right hand. Keep the left hand really way soft. And then third line, you're back down to soft. And then there you crescendo up to moderately loud here. That's the right hand. I guess the right hand is the melody here. I'll come back to that. And you finish it loud. So it looks like in this piece, the right hand has the melody throughout. So these dynamics, you know what I'm talking about. apply to the right hand. Keep the left hand under it, out of the way. As far as tempo goes, or how fast, Moderato's in the middle somewhere. I think that's about as fast as I've been going here. That's on the slow side of what they're suggesting, and they are just suggestions. Accuracy is more important. So you decide on how fast you're going to take it. Now eventually you want to get to where you can really get into the music. You see, it's like at the beginning with the soft. You're not going to play the first whole line soft at just one steady. You feel this. You come up a little bit. So it's here. So at the end of a phrase, we typically come off the phrase a little bit. That is, we kind of come down a little bit. It's the end of a sentence. And then you start the next sentence, and it's like when you talk, you get louder and softer. You put certain syllables of words get a little more stress than others, and well, music's the same way. But you feel it. You don't force it. So experiment with this and see when you can get a little louder and softer. Again, you have to feel it. Sometimes, well, most of the time, as you're going up, you might want to get louder, and as you're coming down. But don't make it that a habit if you can help it. Sometimes you want to get louder as you're coming down and softer as you're going up in pitch. So it's like the second line, starting with the third measure. The hard part, you're here. Maybe I want to get a little louder there. Maybe not. Do you feel it that way? If so, play it. And then the third line, you're soft again. So feel these and get a little, you have to feel it, is my point. You can't force this. So you get to know it well enough where you're not thinking about the notes and the mechanics of it. And you start listening to the music as you're playing it. And how do you feel it? Experiment. I like to play it with you very slowly to double check the notes and the rhythms. Not going to do any dynamics. I'm going to give us 4 counts. I don't think 2 counts is enough, so I'll give us 4 counts, and let's go through it very slowly together. 1, 2, ready, and go, and. Rest.